when someone is first learning how to program, there's all sorts of pitfalls that can occur, errors that can happen when someone tries to create new variable names. This is also true for naming files and naming projects as well. So in response to that, I've come up with some helpful tips, rules, if you will, for how to create variable names, what to do and what not to do. Of course, as you become a more advanced programmer, all of these rules have nuance to them, but as a beginner, these are really, really good, helpful hints for you to avoid a lot of errors. The first rule is no spaces in variable names. Here's an example that I've done in C, is that if you have a new variable that you want to call new variable with a space in between, when you put it on the left-hand side of the equation, C won't let you have two things on the left-hand side of an equation. And this is true for most programming languages. These rules apply to many programming languages, not just C. I'm using C here as an example. Don't use spaces. If you want to use two words in a variable name, use the underscore between them. So use the underscore instead of space whenever naming things. True for file names as well. The next rule, which includes the first rule, is only use letters, numbers, and the underscore in your variable names. The reason for this is that all sorts of other characters that you can type out have multiple meanings within many programming languages. The example here in C is that star and the ampersand, and they have meanings already, and so do mathematical symbols. Star, it could mean times, it can mean slashes mean things. There are all sorts of examples of characters meaning things. And as you learn more about them, you can use them in a more sophisticated way. But in the beginning, until you know what each character does, it's important to not include it in variable names. It's just good general advice as well. The next two rules are short and simple. First one is that all variable names, all file names, should start with a letter, not a number. And so if you use 3pi, for example, in this, the computer program, the C language will give you an error. And also capitalization matters. So C and many programming languages are case sensitive. And so my advice to you is to always use lowercase letters until you become a more accomplished programmer. Here you can see the error if you declare it with a capital letter PI and then try to use it with the lowercase pi, it won't know what that PI is. You didn't declare lowercase pi, and so that's the error. The last rule is kind of mainly just advice, which is when naming variables and project names and file names, try to use something that reflects actually what they do. This isn't so much for C compilers or any programming language. This is really for other human beings who are going to read your code. You want to make your code understandable to human beings, and using variable names that make sense can help someone interpret what you're trying to do. The last important tip here is that every rule that I have for variable names, please apply those to file names and project names as well. Here's an example. So if you want to, I would use a script to create a new project, and if I had a space in the name, new space program as the name of my new project, the script is going to make the project new, and it forgets program. It never doesn't use program, so you just have a folder new there, not program. There are workarounds, of course, but especially when you're beginning, it's just really good advice to skip using spaces in file names. Use the underscore instead if you want multiple words in your project name or file name. The workarounds are annoying, and so it's best just to avoid that early on. And that's it. That's the 5 rules that you need when you're beginning to learn how to write code.